All right, so well, let me not say not. We're going to discuss regular expressions, all right, but I don't want to get too in depth to regular expressions. We're just going to briefly touch on them, give you an overview of what they are, how we use them, and how they basically work, all right? As such, let's talk about what a regular expression is. Well, sometimes we have things that contain text that we get from the user, and it can be put in different ways. But usually things have a pattern, and if they have a pattern, we can create a language, or there is a language where we can describe what that pattern should be, and then we can compare what was entered to this pattern, and if they match, then we can say that it is validated, or excuse me, that the patterns match. And that sort of thing we use for validating user input a lot of times, right? So a regular expression is what we call that pattern. So for instance, I may want to check that uh, users that enter a phone number enter it in as digit, 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 dash, digit, 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 right? So that matches a pattern. So I can describe that pattern with a regular expression, all right? So how do we create a regular expression? Well, let me show you how to create a literal regular expression. All right, let's put a note in there. All right, so if we want to create a literal regular expression, we have a type that is actually a regular expression type, just like string, date, number, etc. All right, so to do it, all we need to do is put a pattern or some pattern inside of two slashes. All right, some pattern that we want to match. All right, so whatever the pattern we're trying to match is, it will go here. All right, surrounded by these slashes, and that will create a regular expression object. So for instance, if I want to create a pattern that matches a US zip code, then I would type this. My variable is zip. All right, and don't worry about if you don't understand this syntax just yet, but it would look something like this. Followed by dash, possibly maybe 4 digits, and dollar sign, then our slash. All right, so that creates a regular expression, and this pattern is the pattern for a US zip code. Okay, and you're looking at it like, oh my gosh, what is that? All right, or some of you just looking at it like, yeah, I know that. All right, so let's talk about some of the easier to understand regular expression patterns. All right, so let's say I want it to match letters that could be uppercase or lowercase. All right, well, I can define the pattern for a letter like this. All right, this says any letter that is between A and Z uppercase, and any letter that is between A and Z lowercase. All right, now that's much simpler to see. So that matches any upper or any lowercase letter. Now what am I leaving out here? Notice it's in red. You got it, missing that slash there. All right. If we want to make it case insensitive, like we did here, we could also do this. We could replace this A-Z, right? And just say any letter A through Z. And then if I do slash I, that makes it case insensitive. All right? Or I could do the opposite thing and go lowercase letters. And that makes it case insensitive, the same thing. So all three of those do the or are equivalent to each other. All right? So that creates our regular expression object. All right, so we should know what objects are. Notice I keep coming back to objects. Now, once we have a regular expression objects, we can compare our pattern, like this pattern for letter or that pattern for zip. We can compare it to some string that someone entered for us, right? And there's four methods that we can use to do that. So let's take a look at what those methods are on the regular expression objects. All right, so the first one we have is the test method. All right, the test method. And what does the test method do? We'll talk about that momentarily. We also have the exec method, which we'll talk about momentarily. And we have the search method. All right, so these two are on regular expression objects. All right. But this one is not on regular expression objects. This one is actually on the string objects. All right. And we also have match. And match is actually on string objects. Remember that objects can have functions. All right. All right, so let's look at how we would use that. So let's say we've created this regular expression, zip, right? And let's say I have some variable called user value that contains 33570. All right. Hold on 1 second. All right, so we have some variable that stores, called user val, that stores a zip code, right? And we want to check that this is a valid US zip code, all right? So we would use our functions. Let's say our regular expression was zip, all right? So I could use my test function, passing it that user val, and that would return me a true or false if user val matches the regular expression that zip holds. All right, so that will return me a true or false. Test that value to see if it matches the pattern. All right, that's probably the most common used method for testing regular expressions in JavaScript. All right, exec is also used from the regular expression object. It returns basically the value that matched. So if it matched, it returns. So it's like if you're using an entire sentence and you want to see a part of it matches the string, then you would use that, right? But it's actually slower than test. All right, so we would use that like this. So it would be the same thing, zip exec and user val, right? All right, so when we do it reverse with a string, so we want to search the string, right? So let's say user val, we're going to invert it. We want to search the string for this pattern if it matches, right? And basically what it does, it's kind of like index of that you see in Java. But what's it going to do is if it matches, it's going to return the position or the first position where that string or that pattern occurs or matches, all right? And if it doesn't match, then it's going to return a -1, all right? A -1 if it doesn't match, all right? And then we can use this one, our match, and pass it our regular expression. That's going to return true or false if the string matches the pattern. All right? Now let's look at some simple matches, all right, or some simple characters that we would use in our regular expression strings. All right? If you see this upper caret, or the caret, that's what we call that. That means that indicates the beginning of the string. So you see that here. So what we're saying is that at the beginning of the string we see a digit. All right, and this is the escape character. The slash is the escape character. So at the beginning of the string, starting at the beginning of the string, there must be a digit. All right. If we want to match the end of the string like this, meaning there should be nothing after the zip code, then we would use the dollar sign. All right, so that says the end of the string. All right, so this string should only contain a zip code and nothing else. All right, dot. If we want to match any character, we say, well, let's say we want any letter from A to Z followed by any character. All right, we'll put a dot followed by any letter A to Z. So dot says any character or letter. So this would match any character that starts, or let's see, any string that starts with an A or a Z, followed by a dot, followed by an A to, followed by any character, followed by the letters A to Z, or any letter from A to Z. All right. You still have your standard OR symbol for if you want to say this can be this or that. It's still the same OR symbol that you're used to. All right. And I think that's all I really want to introduce you to as far as those regular expression symbols. We're more concerned about using them in our code. But I'm going to put a document with the commonly used regular expressions out there for you. But what you can really do is when you want to use a regular expression, if you Google, there's lots of tools out there that will give you the regular expression that matches a particular pattern. So if your Google Foo is up to date, you can really find the regular expressions that you need. All right, but here we showed you how to use those regular expressions. All right, take care.